Mark Goldfeder is the director of the National Jewish Advocacy Center. He just filed a massive federal lawsuit that named the group that Khalil was a spokesperson for, Columbia University Apartheid Divest, along with other organizations, as straight-up collaborators with Hamas. Not protesters, not activists, but operatives. And Mark joins us now. Tell me about this lawsuit and what made you decide now was the time to do this, and what is the objective?
I'm more than happy to do that, but just as a fellow attorney and someone who wants to talk about facts, I'm going to have to respond to a few of those false allegations that were made. I'm going to give you the actual facts, and I'm also going to give you the citations. First of all, in his statement about Amalek, it was a wonderful speech, but Netanyahu actually said, and I quote, "I'm referring to Hamas, not the Palestinian people." You know, your previous guest said that the ICJ had said it was a plausible genocide. On the show Hard Talk, the former president of the ICJ, Joan Donahue, said she needed to address this lie publicly. And so this is a direct quote from the show. You can watch it yourself. She said, ICJ did not decide, and this is something where I'm correcting what's often said in the media, it did not decide that the claim of genocide was plausible. Now, per the ICJ's own jurisprudence, for genocidal intent, for a pattern of conduct to be accepted as evidence of genocide, it would have to be such that it could be the only possible inference. Two cases that decided that, Bosnia versus Serbia in 2007, Croatia versus Serbia in 2015. To even claim that the only inference, the only possible inference here is genocide, you'd have to do exactly what the other side is doing, which is ignore the fact that a terror group, Hamas, is literally holding hostages and committing war crimes daily, despite Israel's repeated assertions that if they would only surrender, the war would stop. And finally, again, our previous guest talked a lot about blockades and sieges. Blockades are a lawful military tactic in the course of war. They are regulated by international humanitarian law, not prohibited by it. Just read Article 23 of the Fourth Geneva Convention. It's very explicit that a high contracting party, such as Israel, shall allow the free passage of humanitarian supplies, but that is if and only if there are no serious reasons to believe these supplies are being diverted from their destination or used for military purposes, and that's exactly what is happening here. Now, as it relates to our lawsuit, and as that relates to Mr. Khalil's deportation, their move from the country here is not only legally justified, to not do so would be to ignore numerous laws. This case should not set the bar for future deportations because the list of his actions, not speech, any number of which would independently justify the deportation of a non-citizen under well-established immigration law, is so extensive that the only risk here is creating an artificially high standard for future deportations. He leads the Columbia University Apartheid Divest, CUAD, which is the primary pro-Hamas group fronting for the now suspended Students for Justice in Palestine. There is a world of distance and a legal chasm between being pro-Palestinian and being pro-Hamas. And there's a difference between being pro-Hamas and providing material support to a foreign terrorist organization. SJP and its affiliates like CUAD have already been credibly accused in federal court of providing material support to Hamas. And I'm talking about Khalil and his group, but the same is true for the other defendants, which include another one of your previous guests, Nardine Kiswani, and Within Our Lifetime. Within Our Lifetime was originally SJP New York. They changed their name. They're essentially the grown-up version of SJP. I'll give you some examples. On October 7th, for example, amid the worst terrorist attack in Israel's history, then Hamas leader Ismail Haniyeh called for the resistance abroad to join this battle any way they can and to be partners in creating this great victory. And these groups responded to Hamas's call for mass mobilization. They disseminated a manifesto and a plan of attack created by their parent organizations. In this toolkit, they identified themselves as part of a unity intifada governed by Hamas's, quote, unified command of terrorist operations in Gaza. And they said they're doing this to achieve liberation and that all resistance is legitimate, all of it is necessary, including armed struggle. And under Khalil's leadership, CUAD has become one of the most effective propaganda arms for Palestinian terrorism. They even received explicit thanks from a virtual guest speaker from PFLP, a Hamas-allied Palestinian terrorist organization, on behalf of their friends and brothers in Hamas during a Resistance 101 event that was hosted at Columbia by CUAD and Within Our Lifetime. You know, at the Columbia encampment that Khalil organized and spoke for, his followers famously shouted, "We are all Hamas," and identified the Jews on Columbia's campus as Al-Qassam, that's Hamas's military wing's next target. The assistance that Khalil and his allies have provided to Hamas through their propaganda work is material, it is critical, it is systematic, and it's of significant monetary value. But beyond propaganda, CUAD also engaged in threatening illegal conduct, not speech, in furtherance of this resistance. Don't let people divert you, Dr. Phil, from the facts of this case in these idealized versions of speech. Through his leadership in CUAD, he coordinated hostile takeovers that obstructed campus operations and foreseeably resulted in all kinds of illegal activity, including, but not limited to, trespass, assault, vandalism, robbery, destruction of property, arson, criminal possession of weapons, burglary, false imprisonment, and intimidation. Dozens of his followers were arrested for committing crimes. In October, his group doubled down on the notion that Jews should be murdered, even if they used the code word Zionist. And again, responding to something Nardine Kiswani said yesterday, sorry, anti-Semites don't get to define anti-Semitism, and she doesn't get to define the word Zionism. For the vast majority of Jewish people across time and space, Zionism is and always has been an important part of their Jewish identity. And just responding to her ignorance, I think she should take a look in the Quran itself, which is quite clear about the long history of Jews in Israel and in Jerusalem. Just a couple of weeks ago, Khalil led CUAD to take over a Milstein library at Barnard College, again, chanting slogans, praising Hamas, mocking the administration that was trying to clear them from the area, blocking students en route to study. They were handing out propaganda booklets literally created by the Hamas media office. There's no subtlety here. CUAD and its leaders are part of the public relations arm of Hamas, and they're aiding and abetting terror.
Well, we have some of those pamphlets that were distributed at a protest outside Barnard Library where Mahmoud Khalil allegedly helped lead the demonstration against the recent expulsion of Barnard student activists. The materials were labeled as coming from the Hamas media office. That's just how they were labeled. This event was held 3 days before his detainment. And Mahmoud Khalil denies knowing anything about these pamphlets being passed out at the protest. Nonetheless, this is what was being distributed outside the library. We have to take a quick break. Coming up, why Brooks says Khalil is trying to justify his actions by misinterpreting the First Amendment. We'll talk about that when we come back. When my sleep was off, it felt like I couldn't show up as my best self. That's why I'm so excited to share something that makes a real difference. Beam's Dream Powder. Beam is proudly founded in America and run by people who share our values, hard work and integrity, and delivering results. It's a science-backed, healthy nighttime blend packed with ingredients shown to improve sleep, so you can wake up refreshed and ready to take on the day. Dream is made with a powerful blend of all natural ingredients: reishi, magnesium, L-theanine, apigenin, and melatonin. Beam has already improved over 17.5 million nights of sleep, helping people across the country wake up and feel their best. Here's the deal. Beam is giving my listeners the ultimate Patriot discount of 40% off. Try their best-selling Dream Powder and get up to 40% off for a limited time. Go to shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil at checkout. That's shopbeam.com/Dr. Phil and use code Dr. Phil for up to 40% off. Support an American company, invest in yourself, and start getting your best sleep tonight.
You're going to be under arrest. So turn around.
Okay,
Stop
let's not.
Stop resisting.
Okay, he's not resisting. He's giving me his phone, okay? He's not, I understand, he's not resisting.
Put your arm around.
There's no use for this.
Don't worry about it. You're going to have to come with us. Don't worry about
I'm
it.
coming with you, no worries.
No one's resisting, no one's getting worked up.
You guys really don't need to be doing all of that.
It's fine, it's fine. Habibi, it's fine.
حبيبي كيف بدي اتصل فيك؟
Take Amy. Call Amy. She'll be
Okay. Hi Amy. Yeah, they just like handcuffed him and took him. I don't know what to do.
Ben Shapiro is a good friend of mine, and I'm paraphrasing, but I think he said it pretty well. He said if Hamas laid down their weapons, we might have a two-state arrangement. If Israel laid down their weapons, we would have a second Holocaust. He felt very strongly about that. And tonight we're tackling the question that the whole country is eager to have answered. And that's where the line will be drawn about what's going to happen on our college campuses. How much is free speech? How much is people protesting based on their conscience? and how much is material support of terrorist groups that wish the United States harm? Brooke, what did you want to say?
This is not about Israel-Palestine, okay? The Muslims have been attacking Jews way before the establishment of the State of Israel. When the State of Israel was established, after the State of Israel was established, this is about the spread of radical Islam, an Islamist ideology, particularly within our borders. The person that you had on before represents CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations, which is a Muslim Brotherhood front organization operating in our country. They are pro-Islamist terror sympathizers in suits. Zahra Ballou, who is the executive director of CARE San Francisco, has gone on record saying, pay attention to Zionist synagogues, Zionists, aka Jews are your enemies. Mikhwad Awad, the executive director of CARE National, right after the October the 7th Hamas attack, said, the people of Gaza decided to break the siege, and he was happy to see them do so. Days after President Trump was shot in Butler, the same person came out and said, are you sure this is not an Israeli plot to ignite another war? The executive director and CEO of CARE in Los Angeles said Israel should be attacked. He supports picking up arms. This is about the spread of radical Islam. And no matter how wonderful their talking points, all of their lies spewed are meant to divert you away from that. And you're supposed to disbelieve what your eyes see. These are not spontaneous, student-led, peaceful protests. You just have to see the footage to see the crimes, the mass trespass, the assaults, the civil rights violations, the chance of death to the Jews and death to America. That is what's happening within our country right now. This is not a debate about Israel-Palestine.
Number one, Mahmoud Khalil has not been charged with any crime whatsoever. And he has not been accused of handing out Hamas propaganda. He's not been accused of even expressing support for Hamas. If he provided material support for Hamas, that would be a crime. You wouldn't have to deport him. You could charge him with the crime, put him in jail, and send him away for the rest of his life. And so if they've got the goods on him, prosecute him. But they're not doing that because there's no evidence that he has done that. He has not done that. Point number two. You had a guest earlier who said that the Jewish kids who've been protesting the genocide in Gaza are Jewish in name only. That's incredibly insulting. It's anti-Semitic to deny someone's Jewish identity because you disagree with their view of what's happening in Palestine and Israel. It's just ridiculous. And I just want to condemn that in the strongest terms and express my solidarity with Jewish people all around the world who have the right to determine their own identity. And the last thing I would say is this about Islam. I'm a Muslim, Dr. Phil, so I got to correct the record here. Your last guest said that Muslims have been attacking Jews for millennia. The Quran teaches that Muslims have to respect and protect Christians and Jews. We all believe in the same God, the God of Abraham. And as you may know, Jerusalem was under the control of the Byzantines when the Muslims surrounded Jerusalem. And when the Muslims took over Jerusalem, there were no Jews in the city because the Byzantines had banned Jews. It was the Muslims who insisted Jews must be allowed to come back to Jerusalem and worship. And for centuries, Muslims protected the right of Jewish people to live alongside Christians and Muslims in the Holy Land and across the Muslim world. Some of the greatest Jewish scholars flourished in the Muslim world while Jews were facing persecution in Europe. So I just wanted to note that it's completely incorrect, and anyone can read the Quran to see what it actually says about protecting the rights of religious minorities, especially Jews and Christians. And I want to thank you, Dr. Phil, for listening to opposing viewpoints. I know we don't agree, but I think it's big of you to at least listen and let people speak and share their opinions. So thank you for that.
Well, I want people to have an opportunity to make up their own minds about this. Let's cut to the chase. Your savings could be in serious trouble. When Elon Musk is out here warning us to brace for temporary hardship, you might want to listen. I trust Preserve Gold to safeguard my accounts, and I urge you to do the same. They're the only precious metals company I recommend. Are you going to sit back and hope for the best or take control of your financial future? Text Dr. Phil to 50505 to get your free precious metals guide from Preserve Gold. With gold prices recently breaking records and analysts predicting this trend to continue through 2025, you cannot afford to wait. As a bonus, you can get up to $15,000 with a qualified purchase from Preserve Gold. So don't wait. Text Dr. Phil to 50505. That's DRPHIL to 50505 today. Let me ask just straight up, is it a prerequisite, a standard for deportation to be charged with or convicted of a crime? That is not required to meet the standard for deportation, as I understand it. Is that correct?
There are numerous ways you could be deported. Committing a crime is one, another is lying on your applications. But one thing you cannot do is deport an immigrant simply because you dislike his speech. I don't care whether it's pro-Israel speech, pro-Palestine speech. That alone cannot be the basis to kick someone out of the country who is a lawful permanent resident. And that's what the administration is trying to do. And that's not going to work. You can deport them for committing crimes, for violating other laws and regulations. And again, Mahmoud Khalil has not done that. If they think he has, show the evidence, and that's what a judge will decide.
But Mark, if it's interfering with foreign policy or they are supporting a terror group, then that can certainly meet the standard. Would you agree?
Of course, it is, first of all, it is black letter law that misrepresentations in this context are not protected speech. So this entire First Amendment allegation is a red herring. The government already filed a bunch of things that he lied about. Second, the INA that we talked about applies to green card holders as well. And the Secretary of State has made a clear determination that this person is a threat to foreign policy and national security. And finally, as we allege in our lawsuit, he did provide material support for terror. The DOJ has announced that they are looking into terror charges against affiliated groups. And so I think, if anything, it is a kindness that he has not been charged yet and is only being deported.
Okay. Guys, we are out of time. I really appreciate the civil discourse tonight. Everyone has listened to everyone, which gives my audience, and I promise you this will be in the millions of people that watch this conversation, a chance to do critical thinking and see what's going on here. So thank all of you for intelligent discussion about this, even though you certainly disagree, and I disagree with different points. Special thanks to Brooke, Ileana, Mark, and Edward. I hope we can have this conversation again in the future.